From Kansas City, Missouri, Bill Johnson. From Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, Fred Lening. Hello, everybody, and welcome once again from the beautiful Emerson Lanes here in Parkersburg, West Virginia, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. It's Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show with the world's greatest bowlers in action every week. Over $75,000 in prizes. This is Fred Wolf. Two more of our field of 24 of the nation's top stars in a three-game match again this week. $1,000 to the winner, $500 to the runner-up. All competition is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress. 300 games are worth $10,000 additional. And on top of all that, a $250 bonus for 5 strikes in a row in any one game, and $50 more for every strike on top of that. It looks like a pretty good match. Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. Bill Johnson from Kansas City, Missouri. We'll be ready for game #1 in just a moment. Ready for the first game of 3 on Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show from Parkersburg, West Virginia. Here is Bill Johnson from Kansas City, Missouri. Big reach, beautiful pocket hit, and he leaves the 7-pin. Working with us this week, Jimmy St. John from Chicago. And Jim, how do you leave a pin like that on a perfect pocket hit?
Well, Fred, that ball was just a little bit high, and it has a tendency to leave the 7-pin now and then.
Of course, he's a pretty strong boy, throws a lot of speed. Very powerful ball, big backswing. Bill Johnson from Kansas City. Here's his opponent, Fred the Moose Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. Here's a fella didn't start bowling until he was almost 30 years of age. Has developed into quite a star. A 4-pin on a pretty good hit. So both Johnson and Lening a bit tight on their first ball here, and that's understandable. Don't want to take any chances on the first ball on Championship Bowling. Of course, we always say the first assignment is to get a strike as soon as you can, and then, of course, get your first double. Both boys with spares in the first frame. As you have noticed, all games start from the left side. It's lane 37 here at the Emerson Lanes. We refer to it as the left side. Johnson won the toss, elected to start on the left. First frame is bowled by the man who starts on the left. All games starting there. Then the competition goes from right to left. There it is. So Fred Lening gets the first strike. Now his job is to get the double. Each man bowls 2 complete frames going from right to left. His opponent, of course, must sit and watch. There is no defense in this game. It's all offense. Big Bill Johnson. Here's the big turn. And he shakes up the 5-7. Jimmy, in looking at this fella, he actually does not follow the usual teaching methods in that he does not square his shoulders to the foul line, does he? You'll notice that he sort of is about 45 degrees.
Yes, Phil has turned a little bit sideways as he starts his approach.
But he sure squares up at the line. Look at that ball. A big explosion there by Albert William Johnson from Kansas City, who incidentally is making his first appearance on Championship Bowling. He has his double. Lening now tries to get his. The turn, he sets it, he's there. And we see Lening playing a very deep angle on the right side, lane 38, as Johnson is. However, Johnson, with much more speed, will not use as much of the lane as Lening will. Lening, a three-finger ball, semi-fingertip. Actually, he uses his finger holes as a fingertip, but he does not have the wide span. Look at this. Yes, sir. Well, the Moose out in front, both boys getting one strike and immediately cashing it in with a double. Lening has made his string to 3. Johnson now moves in on the right, trying for his third strike. And watch this ball work. Big turn. Here it comes. He doesn't get there this time. The 2 and the 5. Bill just went out a little too far. A $250 bonus for 5 strikes in a row in any one game, and $50 additional, of course, for every strike on top of the 5. Bill Johnson, born in St. Louis, Missouri in 1937. Look out. He covered. The 2 and the 5. Bill is married, has a young son. His brother, Jerry, is a very fine tennis player. Brother doesn't bowl. Bill's mother and father used to bowl. In fact, Bill used to go along with Mom and Dad. He learned how to keep score when he was only 8 years of age. 4-pin this time, just a little tight. So the tight hits are not carrying. Johnson has scattered a couple. He's lost a 7-pin and a 4-pin on the left side. Lening started with a 4-pin and has followed with 3 strikes. Cover. 87. 87 in the 4th with a spare in the 5th. And the Moose moves in on the right side. Here's a fella that will never smile while he's in competition. Pretty good reach, and a little too much. The 4-pin stops him. In 6 games on championship bowling, Lening has averaged 206. His high series was 685. His high single game has been 235. At the 4-pin and the spare. Lening throws, he's there, and that could very well be 5 in a row. Actually, Lening has had every ball in the pocket. He started with a 4, followed with 3 strikes, then another 4-pin, and now the strike in the 6th. Give him the 4-pin in the 5th, and Lening would be on his way, working on that $250 bonus with $50 additional for every strike. Big turn. Look at that. Oh, man, that looked like an explosion, Jim. Can you throw a ball like that?
I do once in a while, Fred. Bill has a real strong ball, and all he wants to do is get a piece of that head pin.
Actually, he handles his Am-Flight Magic Line ball like it's a fingertip, but he tells me it's only a semi-fingertip. But he doesn't put too much of the fingers in the ball. Look at that. Well, at the end of 6 frames, Lening is 119 and the strike. Johnson works on 2 strikes going into the 8th. There he is. Well, Freddie finally threw one out the window. That's the first ball he's had out of the pocket. In fact, there's only been one other ball out of the pocket. Bill Johnson was a little light here on the right side. Lening to the extreme on the light side by missing the head pin, the 1, the 2, and the 8. And he has the cover. A couple of pretty tough cookies here. Fred Lening and another great study in styles. Johnson taking practically the full approach. The high backswing. Very strong boy. Big turn. And you see Fred Lening up short. Well inside the 12-foot line. 4 very short steps, but a very fine reach. Just like that. Lening now with a strike in the 8th. 159 in the 7th. He works on a strike. Still kicking around 249. Bill Johnson, a potential 257. Pointing 45 degrees right. Big turn. Another solid 7. That's 2 solid 7s and a 4-pin for Bill Johnson. He started with a 7. Came back with 2 strikes, then the 2-5 here on the right side. Then a 4-pin, a double, and a solid 7. A lot of bowling ball this fella can throw. There's the cover. Bill attended SMU on a golf scholarship, and in 1963 won the 2nd annual Professional Bowlers Golf Tournament, which has developed into quite an event. He has shot actually a 60 for 18 holes at Crystal Lake Country Club in St. Louis. Too high. So that's the first one that Bill has pulled, the 3-6-10. And it just so happens that Bill will admit to one thing, that this is his toughest spare. How do you look at this spare, Jim?
This is a real tough spare, Fred. If you don't get the ball out there, you can chop to 3, and if you throw the ball a little too fast, don't get up to the 3-pin. That's one of the things right there that can happen real easy.
Well, there's Bill Johnson, who has been throwing that ball in the 1-3 pocket. He makes one mistake, the 3-6-10, and then misses the spare. 182 in the 9th, and here's a great chance for Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, a 200-pounder to get himself out in front with this strike. He's on one. He's got the double. Well, Mr. Lening took full advantage. You don't give this fella any room when you're on a strike and your opponent is open. It's a great opportunity to really pick up some pins, and Lening now can get out of here with 249. He still has a chance for the $250 bonus. He has room for 3 strikes in the 10th. He works on 2. In the 10th, Lening throws. It's there. He does not. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Oh, man, how about that? Those AMF tournament grade pins rolling beautiful across that pin deck, and Mr. Lening picks himself up a turkey, keeps himself alive, and that's another 10 pins that Bill Johnson will have to worry about in the 2 games to follow. $1,000 to the winner. Come on, Frederick. Get in up there. The 5-7 stops him, and the $250 bonus is not touched here in the first game. Fred has 4 daughters and 1 son. 5 children. They all love to follow Dad whenever he throws that bowling ball. And he'll take 1 to play it safe. For 236. Fred Lening, the Moose from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, getting a great start here. 236 is Bill Johnson, who missed the 3-6-10 in the 9th, steps in the 10th frame. He's right back. Jimmy, I'm going to ask you a question. Some of the boys feel this way. Now, when Johnson was on the double and left the solid 7-pin here on the right side in the 9th, or in the 8th, rather, when he went to the left side and threw the bad ball, do you think that's a normal letdown when you lose a good hit going to the next frame?
Very much so, Fred.
Boy, that's a lot of power, isn't it? When this fella is thin, those pins just go a-dancing. Johnson has really been tearing them apart. He's lost a couple of tough ones. Three actually, but they've all been solid. 2 7-pins and a 4-pin. When he gives that ball room, there's too high, and he gets 9. So Bill Johnson checks out with 211. So it looks like we have another great match going here on Championship Bowling, the #1 bowling show in television. This is Fred Wolf at the Emerson Lanes in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Pay attention to this. Here are the scores for the first game. Bill Johnson from Kansas City, 211. Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, 236. Lening coming up with 7 strikes. Johnson had 6. Looks like a great start. We're ready for the second game of 3 here on Championship Bowling. Is Parkersburg ready? Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, moving in on the left, starting the second game of 3 on championship bowling. Look out, Frederick, you dropped it. Well, he missed the head pin, the 1, the 2, the 4, and the 8. Quite obvious there. That ball was on its way before Fred had a chance to finish his delivery. Jim, I suppose that happens once in a while.
Yes, Fred, when you're sitting waiting for the other man to finish up and under the lights it's warm and it's very easy to drop a ball.
Lening now up short. This fellow takes a very short approach. Does it the easy way. Nice lift, and there's the cover. Nice shot. Fred followed the instructions of the exclusive AMF spare maker, which indicated to put the ball between the 1 and the 2 pin, and that was one of the 1,023 possible spare leaves. And that AMF spare maker will show you how to make every one of them. There's another tight hit, the 4 pin by Johnson. Oh, this fellow really sails that ball. A lot of speed, very deep angle, and it's amazing with the speed that he does throw that he can still break the ball. There it is. There's the cover. The cover by Bill Johnson. Championship bowling, and you've watched television's #1 bowling show, the world's greatest bowlers over the years, from Chicago, Paramus, New Jersey, Louisville, Kentucky, Coral Gables, Florida, Toledo, Ohio, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Well, he's high again, the 6'10", Bill Johnson. Very interesting statistic here in Parkersburg, West Virginia. The 300,000th pin was officially knocked down in the first game of this very match between Bill Johnson and Fred Lening. There's the cover. There have been 1,404 games bowled on championship bowling over the past 10 years. The average per game, 213. And that proves the world's best in action. There's the 10 pin on a Brooklyn hit, and that's a very unusual leave. Fred Lening counting 9 in the first frame on his spare, giving him 19, and the first 10 pin that we have seen to be converted. At least Mr. Lening hopes it will be. There it is. That's rather unusual, Jimmy, isn't it, to leave a 10 pin on a solid Brooklyn?
Yes, it is, Fred. It seems that the pin action is real funny down there on that type of a hit, and the result is leaving the solid 10.
Fred Lening, he had 7 strikes the first game. Looking for his first strike here in the second game. And he won't have to look much more because there it is. Lening now beginning to line them in there. Fred playing a much tighter angle than Bill Johnson and throwing much less speed. Oh, and he threw that one out there. He didn't get the lift he wanted. The 1, 2, 4, and the 8. Missing the head pin, the same lead that Lening showed us in the first frame. And the exclusive AMF spare maker shows us the easiest way to make this spare, putting that ball between the 1 and the 2 pin. And that's right where it's going. Nice cut. You know, bowling centers today are becoming quite a showplace. Just going inside them is fun. Many of them are equipped with a restaurant, lounge, all modern facilities. They're all there waiting for you to come in and enjoy them. And of course, the real fun doesn't begin until you pick up that bowling ball and let it roll down the lane. And when you get yourself a Brooklyn strike along the way, it'll make you feel much better about the whole thing. Why not be a participant in this great sport? And for the ladies, well, my goodness, you have all day. Morning leagues, afternoon leagues. Your neighborhood bowling proprietor will tell you how to do it. Here's Lening. Come on, boy. Look at that action. Fred Lening This fellow's not a youngster, born back in 1922. Didn't start bowling until he was almost 30 years of age. And the farther the string goes, the more you're going to find this fella move around. He has a fast shuffle at the foul line. Gets the same result that Bill Johnson gets, only he seems to do it a little easier, much slower, short approach, sets it. He's there. There's number 3. Now, in comparing these two bowling balls after they are delivered, Jimmy, Lening comes under the category of a tracker. Isn't that the idea? He lets that ball sort of roll into the pocket.
Yes, he does, Fred. He stays in the track with that medium-speed ball.
Where Johnson, of course, is the big swinger. Bill Johnson, 54 on the double. Fred Lening is 39 in the second. He works on 3 strikes. We're in the 6th, second game. Big Bill throws it out there. Oh, look out for that 10-pin. Well, that 10-pin was all the way over on the 9-pin spot and finally toppled over the end of the lane into the pin receptacle, and that's a big triple for Johnson. Both boys going after that bonus money now as Lening moves in here on the right side. Fred Lening working on 3. Has himself about a 40-pin lead. Look out, look out, look out. In the middle, broke it up 6-10. Seemed like Fred was a little confused on that one, Jim.
I don't believe that he wanted to give the ball as much room. The last time he had 3 in a row, he sent it out too far and didn't come back. He tried to tighten it up a little bit and got a little too tight.
6-10 cross lane, cover the 2. Lening has the spare. Fred will tell you, and I certainly believe he's quite honest about it, he is actually surprised, Jimmy, I don't know if you know this, how quickly he has become the bowler that he is. Sometimes he says, I can't believe that I'm bowling with these big guys, and after all, I haven't been bowling very long.
Well, that's true, Fred. Fred Lening hasn't been bowling too long, and as a rule, it takes quite a few years to become a top bowler in the country, and he's done it at his age in a very short time.
Of course, he was quite an athlete. He was a semi-pro baseball catcher, great halfback, and a great kicker in football. So he has quite a background. Look out, look out, look out. Fred Lening is now open in the 7th with 143. Too high. Johnson unable to keep it going. Working on 3. One more here would give him a chance, of course, for the $250 bonus. Moving to the left. Bill seems to be hitting the left side a little better than the right side. Most of his trouble has been here on lane 38. We refer to it as the right side. Look out there. Oh, brother. Oh, he really fired that one. That got down. That was going a mile a minute, Jim.
Bill stuck a little bit that time and had a tendency just to let go of the ball instead of getting a little lift on it.
Bill Johnson, Kansas City, a scratch golfer and a great coming bowling star. He'll have to do better than that. He missed the head pin. The 1 and the 2, the second time this game that Bill has missed a head pin. He has a margin of 18 pins on his opponent, Fred Lening. The margin overall less than 10. The cover, Johnson has it. So Fred Lening, the Moose from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, moves in here on the right side. His high television series back in 1960 in Minneapolis, he shot .739. Doesn't get there. The 2-4-5-8, they call that one the bucket. And the exclusive AMF spare maker will indicate that that spare should be made by putting the ball between the 2 and the 5. And of course, hope that it'll follow through to take the 8. That's a pretty tough shot. Lening moving to the extreme left. He's going to let the ball roll right into the group. And he got away with one. Boy. I noticed a couple of frames ago, Jimmy, he moved to the extreme left over on the other lane, and the ball didn't quite get there. Now, that one didn't get up there either.
That's right, Fred. When you wait to the left like Lening's playing, you have to get that ball going right straight towards the 2-pin, or it'll skid off to the right on you.
A big spare for Lening. We're in the 9th. Lening throws. Got to hurry. He gets there, leaves the 10-pin. And these boys looked like they were going to be flying here. About through the 7th frame of the first game, looked like a big total. Lening finally finishing with 236. Johnson was open in the 9th, missing a spare in the first game, settled for 211. At the 10-pin, Lening covered. So Bill Johnson will move in on the right side. Bill's high TV performance was a 736 total in Kansas City on the King Louis show, and he shot a 279 game, getting the first 9 in a row. 10-pin stops him. This is Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show with the world's greatest bowlers in action every week. We're at the Emerson Lanes in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Emerson Lanes, the host of the 1964 International Moose Tournament. There's the cover. John Milanese, our statistician. Jimmy St. John of Chicago, a professional bowler, sitting in with us here. And our hosts, Mark Nichols and Jim Ciccona. Two fine proprietors here at the Emerson Lanes. Bill Johnson moves left. We go into the 10th. The margin only 8 pins. Johnson is high. He looks at the 3-6-10 again. The second time he's looked at this shot over on the left side. The first time he shot at it, he went past the 3-pin. This was in the 9th frame of the first game, and Bill will admit to you that this is his toughest spare shot. The spare maker simply says, put the ball between the 3 and the 6. Let's see if he can do it. Well, Bill's pretty consistent. That's exactly what he did in the first game. Shakes his head, and Mr. Johnson, with a great strike ball, has not shown us too much on spare shots. Lening now with a chance to add to his margin. He carried 25 pins going into this game. Let's see if he can do something. There it is. Look at that. Do you feel, Jimmy, that Fred's ball rolls over the thumb hole occasionally? You hear the bump there?
Yes. You'll notice that Fred doesn't try to turn the ball too much, and therefore, about 3/4 of the way down the lane, it'll start to catch the edge of the thumb hole. It still rolls good.
He gets good action with it. Too high, the 6-10. Lening unable to add another 10 pins to his margin. He picked up 10 with the strike. Johnson was open. Bill settling for 196. The fill here by Lening, 202. A margin of 6. Lening should go into the 3rd and final game with $1,000 hanging in the balance with about 31 pins. There's the cover of the 6-10. In the second game, Fred Lening, 202. Bill Johnson, 196. This is Fred Wolf from Parkersburg, West Virginia on Championship Bowling. The 3rd and final game still to come up here. So stick around. Here's some interesting words for you. Here are the scores through the first 2 games. Bill Johnson, 211 and 196. His total, 407. For Fred Lening, 236. 202, the total, 438. Lening now with 31 pins. The 3rd game still to come. No bonus money. How about it, fellas? 5 in a row? Both of you? You all agree? How about Parkersburg? Would you like to see that? Bill Johnson from Kansas City, trailing by 31 pins. Starting game number 3 on Championship Bowling. He throws. Here's a fella that was a big surprise on the 1963 PBA Winter Tour, Bill Johnson from Kansas City. He trails by 31 pins. Here's Fred Lening, who is out in front from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. Freddie throws. He's a little tight, and he leaves the 4-pin. Back in 1963, this fellow rolled a sanctioned 300 score in a PBA event in New Jersey. He was the Philadelphia match game champion in 57 and 58. Was named the 1962 Metropolitan New York Bowler of the Year. That's quite an honor for a fella that has only been in the game since about 1950 or 51. He's a recreation director in Fairless Hills, bowling establishment manager. There he is. Well, Lening could have had a couple, a solid 4, and Bill Johnson now with 31 pins to think about. He is on a strike. He can cut it down to 20 pins with this one. Here's the big turn and the lift. Solid 10. That's the first real solid 10-pin we've looked at. Bill Johnson, the 1963 Kansas City match game champion. On the winter tour in 63, finished 10th in the money winnings, winning over $10,000. He won the Dallas All-American Classic. He was runner-up in the Pontiac Open. And a fellow who loves to work, loves to practice. This fellow can bowl 25, 30 games at a crack. Speaking of this practice, Jimmy, what do you call a good practice session? Can you stay with this guy?
Oh, yes, Bill is bowling real good, and the more you work, the better you seem to get.
Well, he didn't get that one out there. The 2-4-5-8, the bucket, and the AMF Spearmaker, of course, will indicate the same as it always does, the correct way to make it, putting the ball between the 2 and the 5 and have the ball follow through to hit the 8. At least that's the plan that you have. Careful. Covers it. Nice shot. So Johnson unable to move with the strikes. And here's Fred Lening, that 31 pins now. With a strike here would look pretty good. Freddie will have himself about 45 pins to work on, 7 frames to go if he can get this one. A pretty good lift. He's got it. No mistake. No mistake on that one. Lening now moves left. And he has his young opponent, Bill Johnson, in trouble. $1,000 to the winner, $500 to the runner-up. Both these boys will make another appearance here on Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show. They will meet a different opponent their second time out. Lening, good reach. Hurry up. Look at that action. Well, there's a fella that gives every pin a chance to do its job. And you can see that action. Bill Johnson on the right. Here's the turn. And another 10-pin. Did you know that surveys show that physically handicapped workers can turn in record-breaking jobs? They're steady, they're reliable, and they have fewer accidents. Why not hire the physically handicapped? At the 10, Johnson covers. So Bill moves to the left, making his first appearance on Championship Bowling, something he will long remember. And I would say in his next appearance, here from the Emerson Lanes in Parkersburg, West Virginia, this fellow could break loose and really pile up a total. Seems to be quite confused here this week, wouldn't you say, Jim?
Fred, I think you'll notice that this being Bill's first time on Championship Bowling, I think he's trying a little too hard. And right now, he seems to be trying to fit the ball more than play it loose like he normally does with that strong ball.
The 4, the 7, cover. So for Johnson, it is 73 in the 4th. He has a spare in the 5th, and Fred Lening now in his turn. 2 complete frames. He's working on 3 strikes. He needs this one and 1 more to start the $250 bonus going. How about this one? Oh, no. A solid 7-pin. You can't hit him any better than that. So we have 5 frames remaining. Both boys have room for 5 strikes in a row. As a matter of fact, there's room for 7 in a row. Starting with the 6th, the cover by Lening, and he has the spare. So at the end of 5 here in the 3rd and final game, Johnson 73 spare, Fred Lening is 99 spare. We're into the 6th, 3rd and final. Lening throws. He's there, shakes up everything but the 5-pin. $1,000 to the winner, $500 to the runner-up. Lening with a lead of 47 pins. 5 frames to go. That means that if Lening can fill every frame, Johnson will have to go all the way. Bill wears the bowler's glove, gets a very large callus on the end of his 2nd finger. That's the last finger to leave the ball. The 4-pin this time. You professional bowlers, Jim, do many of the boys have finger problems with all the bowling they do on their tours?
Yes, we do, Fred. It's quite a wear and tear on your fingers at the amount of games we have to bowl each day.
Of course, this fella, Johnson, has to bowl naturally the games that he's supposed to bowl in a tournament, but he gets out and practices. I know for this match here this week on Championship Bowling, he must have bowled at least 60 games in the past 3 days here on this pair.
Well, he's been throwing the ball with a lot of confidence, and
we took a good look at a lot like that here before we went on the air, but Bill hasn't been able to line them in there during the show. So we'll take a look. Johnson 112 with a strike. We can strike him out for 232. That means Lening would need 200 to make sure of a victory. He has a triple. He needs 3 more spares, and he should have enough. Johnson's still in position for $250 in bonus money. Lening at the 4-7. He still has room. And there's the cover. Fred Lening, they call him the Moose, actually resides in Yardley, Pennsylvania, bowls out of Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, where he is a recreational director at a bowling establishment. His high 3 games in sanctioned competition, 775. Big reach. There's another roller by Lening. That's the 2nd time. That's what you call magic, isn't it, Jim?
that's a real good break, Fred. Now, if he can just take advantage of that and strike out here for that bonus award.
Bill Johnson in the 8th on the strike. Nice and easy. That's the boy. Well, Bill probably wondering where he's been for the past 2 games. Looked like he was going to break loose. He had 3 doubles the first game. Second game, he caught a 3-bagger. That's his first double this game. We're in the 9th, and Johnson has a chance to finish with 6 in a row. There she comes. There we are. So Johnson coming a little late as far as winning this match. Lening can play it cozy here the last 2 frames. He had a lead of 31 pins. He has about 14 pins in this game. Lening will need this one to keep it at 14, and he's going to get it. 10 pin stops him. So there's no bonus money for Lening. And Fred will need this spare, and he'll have to pay attention in the 10th frame, or Bill Johnson might have those 31 pins back in a hurry. Actually, Lening will finish first, so he can shut the door and put Mr. Johnson out of business for the $1,000. However, Bill can still go after the bonus money, and Fred was a little leery of that one. That ball didn't move much at the end, and a good thing, because he didn't get too much of it. Johnson still potential 232. Lening had a lead of 31. So actually, Fred needs 200, and he just about has it. No problems. Well, he hasn't got it yet. We didn't figure on a 6-pin count here, Jimmy.
No, we didn't. All he had to do was get just a good count, even if he had an open. But now he's got this spare that he missed once and almost missed it the second time. So we'll see what he does this time.
Not this time. Well done. And that's what the exclusive AMF spare maker indicated, the ball between the 2 and the 5. So it's the big spare for Lening. The count 212, a respectable series of 650. Johnson can go all the way for 639. $648. 210, the final game for Fred Lening. So Big Bill Johnson, the Kansas City match game champion of 1963, the 5th Army All Events champion at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri in 1962, and a great golfer, Johnson and leaves the solid 8 pin. How can that pin possibly stand, Jim?
Fred, that's another one of those funny pin actions. It's what the bowlers call the only real tap there is. Bill hasn't got any breaks at all this game when he got going.
Well, that was in there about as tight as you could get it, and that, of course, took away any possibility of bonus money here in this match this week between Bill Johnson of Kansas City, making his first appearance on Championship Bowling, and Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. There is the 7-pin. Bill checks in with 2 pin, and we have a dead heat in the 3rd and final. We'll check these scores, make them official, have a word or two with these 2 fine bowling champions. This is Fred Wolf from Parkersburg, West Virginia, along with Jimmy St. John. We'll see you right after this word. Here are the official scores for Bill Johnson: 211, 196, and 210 for 617. Fred Lening, 236, 202, 210, the total 648. Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, the winner. The margin, 31 pins. Did you enjoy this match, ladies and gentlemen? Let's call out the runner-up, Bill Johnson, Kansas City. Bill? I don't know what to say, but you finished second, boy.
I was hurt happy anyway.
You were very happy. I thought that 617 was a very strong 617. You lost some pretty good hits.
I lost some pretty good hits, but I threw a few balls there that didn't deserve to strike, too.
Oh, I don't know. I thought you were shaking them up pretty good. We mentioned back in 1963 you were the new Professional Bowlers Association golf champion. Is that correct? As I understand, you won that. Beat these fellows, Carter, Fazio, Nagy, who...
Well, they weren't playing too good.
They weren't playing too good. Very modest boy. What about your next appearance now here on Championship Bowling in Parkersburg? You're not going to play golf between now and your next appearance?
Oh, I think I might.
You think you might, see? It bothers him, but he's still going to play. Can we expect about 717 your next trip?
That or more, I hope.
That or more. All right, Bill, I'm sure you will. Bill Johnson, ladies and gentlemen, there's your $500, your bonus check, which you did not get. See you next time. Bill Johnson. All right. As we always say, where there's a loser, there's a winner. Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. Freddie, before I get carried away, I'll give you your $1,000 as the winner, and as I said to Bill, there's no bonus money this week. I have an interesting question for you that I'm sure the audience might, and I don't want you to be too modest. For a fellow who has reached the heights that you have as a professional bowler in the short length of time, what did you do? There might be a lot of people interested in becoming a great bowler in just a few years. What did you do? Usually takes 15 years or more.
Well, I did practice a lot, Freddie, but I'll tell you, back in '49, I bought a bowling alley so I could practice.
Oh, that's a good idea, but everybody can't do that.
Well, I couldn't either, but the bank kind of liked me, so we got along.
Mm-hmm. In other words, you practice. You just bowl and bowl and bowl until you mastered the game. Is that correct?
Yes, it came a little easier than for some people, perhaps, because I did play every sport you can mention except a few, and I played a little pro football, a little semi-pro baseball, and I hit the golf ball, but I think I bowled the best.
Well, you certainly showed us that this week. Your 648, as I told Bill, both of these totals are strong totals. I believe you boys with a little kick here or there. You got a couple of nice rollers there across the pin deck. You got a patent on that shot?
I wish I did have, but I think Bill shot much better than his score shot, and of course we all think all of us shot better, but it evens out in the long run, especially my match did.
Well, you have 648 to go, and your next appearance about 690 or maybe the 700. We could see you back here in the finals.
Well, I'm going to get a higher room number in my hotel so I can shoot it next time.
Very good. Thank you very much, Fred Lening, Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. Don't go away now, because we have something interesting. We'll be right back. With us again this week, the great All-American Esther Woods. Let's give her a nice Parkersburg welcome. Esther, how are you?
Hi, Fred. A little while ago, I heard you talking about Nina Ricci. I wonder if you thought maybe she was a new bowler that was coming into the area to bowl on championship bowling, maybe pitting against Lindy Faragalli?
I did. I heard she was a new member of the AMF staff of champions.
Well, you're sure mistaken, Fred. Really, your wife and all the ladies here in Parkersburg certainly know that Nina Ricci is a famed, renowned fashion designer.
Oh.
And she's come up with some beautiful fashions for bowling, and I'd like to show you one now.
Right.
Kitty Smith, our model here, is modeling the new Nina Ricci gray flannel jumper. You notice that it has the cutaway hemline, which allows her to stride freely to the foul line. It's covered up with what we call an A-shaped panel front. Also, she has on a leather ascot tie at the neck for trim. Very attractive, isn't it?
Yes.
Look at those boots. Aren't they cute? This is the first boot designed for bowling. It's called the Sheba. And the handbag she's carrying is called the Felina. Now, this whole Nina Ricci outfit is available at all the better stores around the country, and it's from the Magic Triangle International Collection.
You sure that bag won't bite her at any time?
Oh, no. Thank you, Kitty. Very attractive.
Very nice. Very
Isn't
nice.
it, though?
Well,
Look at this, Fred.
how
You know,
about-
I told you, look at Lindy. He's really giving some instructions over there, and it looks as though he's certainly looking her over in that fashion, doesn't it?
Sure does.
But, you know, it goes to show you, and I always say that men will do it, you know, especially if fashions are nice and attractive in bowling. They really go for them. But that's what we want, isn't it?
I would say that's the general trend with the ladies. You've got to look nice at all times, and these are just marvelous fashions.
Oh, I think they're beautiful.
I'm like Lindy. I'd be attracted myself to something like that.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you very
Gee,
much,
it's so
Esther.
nice being here.
Please stop in any time on Championship Bowling, and I'm sure all the folks here in Parkersburg will be very glad to have you drop in.
Thank
Wouldn't
you very much.
Really? All of you? We'll repeat the scores. Bill Johnson, games of 211, 196, and 210. The total is 617. For Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, 236, 202, and 210. The total 648. Quite a study in statistics. Bill Johnson had 13 strikes. Fred Lening only 15 strikes. But Lening the winner by 31 pins. Both these boys will appear again on future shows here on Championship Bowling from the beautiful Emerson Lanes in Parkersburg, West Virginia. The two top totals for the two appearances, of course, will qualify the two men for the finals with a $15,000 added purse. Hope you can join us again next week. We'll have 2 more of our field of 24 of these great bowling stars in match game competition on Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show. Over $75,000 in prizes. We'll be with you here from the Emerson Lanes. Fred Wolf saying, just keep 'em bowling out there. Matching shirts and slacks used on Championship Bowling by King Louie. Championship Bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress, and we wish to thank AMF for their cooperation in helping us to produce Championship Bowling.